Alright, this is Math 1, Unit 1B review for the 2017-18 school year. Alright, so here we go. Let's take a look at the review worksheet. Again, the goal here is for you to look through the solutions and how they're worked out so that when you do them on your own, you can verify your own work to see are you doing it correctly, and then ask your teacher for additional support when you get closer to the test. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to find the following rates in miles per hour. That's our goal there, and we're going to round to the nearest tenth. So to set this up, we begin with saying we have 7.8 miles in 1 minute. That's my initial setup here. And my goal is to convert this over to miles per hour, which means miles is going to stay up on the top. That's okay, no problem there. I don't have to get rid of the miles part. That'll be part of my solution, right? But I do want to get my solution to be with hours on the bottom. To end up with hours on the bottom, I need to change the minute portion here. So to do that, I'm going to set up a little proportion. I'm going to say, well, there are 60, and I go diagonal, don't forget, there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. By doing this, I have a conversion ratio here, 60 to 1, 60 minutes to 1 hour, that will allow me to cancel out the minutes when I multiply. So that's all I need, because that's going to leave me with miles per hour in the end. So to solve this one here, I'll do 60 times 7.8, and that's going to give me 468 miles in an hour. So that'll be my answer. So I would write 468 miles per hour would be my answer there for number 1. Which makes sense. If I'm doing 7.8 miles in a minute, I'm going to be doing that 60 times, right? So it's 60 times 7.8. And that's how you write with the answer. And the next one here, we have it started with feet per hour, right? So I'm at 13,200, and I have feet in 1 hour. And I want to get this again to miles per hour. So at this time, what has to change is the feet portion, all right? The hour is okay, but I want to end up with miles on the top. That's my goal, is to have miles in my solution here on the top. The hour is just fine. So what I want to think about is how many feet are there in a mile. Now that may be something you know, it may be something that you don't know. You had it in in unit of measurement form before, where you saw that there are 5,280 feet in 1 mile. Okay, and that was on the chart, if you recall, that you had from your class. It looks something like that for units of measurement, and I can see how many feet there are in a mile. Okay, so that's where I begin. With this in mind, I know that my feet will cancel out, and I'll be left with miles per hour as my solution. So to multiply that out, I end up, first of all, with 13,200 miles over 5,280 hours, which is not quite what I'm looking for there. So I have to go ahead and divide those things out to get it down to miles per hour. So I do 13,200 divided by 5,000, oops, try it again, 13,200 divided by 5,280, which gives me 2.5 miles per hour as my solution there. So 13,200 feet per hour can also be written as 2.5 miles per hour. Alright, and that's number 2. For the next one, number 3, it wants you to find the rate for the following person, round to the 10th, and see who travels the fastest. This is kind of the key word here. You're looking for the fastest, which means the most miles per hour is what we want to look for here. Who travels the most miles per hour? So as you're working this out, we're looking for the biggest number in miles per hour for the one who is the fastest. So not only do you have to solve for each of these, we have to decide which one is the fastest. So to solve this here, we have, first of all, this is 525 miles in 5 hours, and we want to see how many miles that is in 1 hour. So because this is almost like a unit rate, we're going to simply just do 525 divided by 5, which in this case, 325 divided by 5, which equals 65 miles per hour. So for our first one, we have 65 miles per hour. Our next one, we're going to do 101 miles, and it says 1.5 hours. So I can write 1.5 hours if I want to. And again, unit rate, we're seeing how many miles that is in 1 hour. So it's 101 divided by 1.5, which gives me 67.33 repeating. So the nearest tenth, this is my tenth, would simply be 3. So 67.3 miles per hour. On the next one, I have 255 miles in 3.5 hours. So 255 divided by 3.5, which is going to equal 72.857, and it goes on and on and on. The nearest tenth, I'm looking at the 8, to round that up. If I look next door, 5 or bigger, I'm going to go up, so this becomes 72.9. 72.9 miles per hour. On letter D, we have 285 divided by 4. And 285 divided by 4, 285 divided by 4 is going to give me 71.25. Again, that's a 5, so I'm going to round up with the 5. So this becomes 71.3 miles per hour. And finally, choice E, we have 210 miles in 3 hours. So when I divide 210 divided by 3, I get plain old 70 miles per hour. So my solution set, I have a 65, 67, 72, 71, 70. The one that goes the furthest, the most, again, we're looking for the most miles per hour for the fastest, would actually be choice C, Louisa. She goes the most. Let's move down now to number 4, solving proportions. Solving proportions, a couple ways of looking at it. I could always cross multiply, or I could look for some patterns here. Okay? Alright, so to go from 5 to 15, I'm looking at that because I want to go 13 to x. To go from 5 to 15, that's going to happen by a times 3 kind of ratio. 5 times 3 gives me 15. So on this way here, this is times 3, I can do 13 times 3 to find out the value of x. Well, 13 times 3, 3 times 3 is 9, and 3. So x is going to equal 39. Again, I could cross multiply and get the same answer. It would just take a little bit longer. For 5, alright, again looking at going to the variable, what does it take to go from negative 3 to 12? That's going to be multiplying by negative 4. If I multiply by a negative 4, right, negative 3 times a negative 4 gives me positive 12. So I'll take this 4 and I'll multiply it by, same thing, a negative 4, and that's going to give me a negative 16. If you wanted to do the cross multiplying way, you could. Let me show you real quick how that works. I would have y times negative 3, or negative 3y, and that would equal 12 times 4, which is 48. And now I divide both sides by negative 3, and y equals 48 divided by negative 3, negative 16. So I end up with the same answer each way. It just depends on which way you want to look at. You can look for the connections, or you can cross multiply. Let's look at the bottom part, number 6 and number 7. That should be a 6. Alright, so I'm going to cross multiply first of all. So I have 7 times x plus 8 is going to equal 5 times x minus 12. Okay? So here's what I'm looking at so far. 7 times x plus 8, combining those, and then combining these. Let's use the distributive property. So I get 7x, and 7 times 8 is 56. Over here I get 5 times x is 5x, and times 12 gives me a negative 60. The next step will be to combine like terms. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 5x from here. Right, so that goes away. So I have a 2x on this side. And let's move the whole number over there. Let's subtract 56, subtract 56. Because these signs are the same, I find the sum. which is 6 and 11, and I keep the sign the same for negative 166, or 116. So we'll say 2x equals negative 116. Let's divide both sides by 2 to isolate the variable, and x is going to equal 116 divided by 2. I'm going to write 58. I'm not done though, because the negative divided by positive, so I have a negative answer. So x equals negative 58. Alright, so we cross multiplied, distribute, combine like terms, and then solve to isolate the variable. Alright, let's look at number 7, the last one on this first part. Cross multiply, so we have 11 times y minus 1 equals, cross multiply, 3 times y plus 9. Distribute, 11y minus 11 equals, distribute, 3y, 3 times 9 is 27. Let's combine like terms. Subtract 3y first of all. That goes away. 11 minus 3 is 8y. Let's move the 11 over here to over here. Moving it over, right? That goes away. We have the same signs. We find the sum, which becomes 38. So 8y equals 38. Seems a little strange, kind of a weird number there. Kind of wondering if I did something wrong. I'm going to double check. So I would think I would get a normal number, but maybe not. Not sure. That is an 11. So we did add 11. Double checking. We have a negative 11. We added an 11. We have 27. That is 38. All right. So it is what it is. So we're going to divide both sides by 8. So y equals 38 over 8. That can be reduced down to 38. Let's divide by 2 first of all. To 19 over 4. I could leave it like that perhaps. I can't really reduce it much more. I could write it as a mixed number. 4 goes into there 4 times. Right? 19 minus 16. And that gives me 3 left over. 4 and 3/4. If I wrote that as a fraction, I would have 4.75. Seems very strange to have that as an answer. So that's one as I'm looking at it, again, just solving it with you. I don't have an answer key like you do. That's the answer I have, one of these 3, which are all the same. But check with your teacher to see what they say, how to solve it there. Looks like I might have done something wrong, so I might want to check that out. Not sure what that would be, but that's what I got. Okay? And that is part 1 of your review. Hope that helps. I'll do part 2 in just a moment.